Hey everyone, Larry from Larry Life, the Up for Gold here, and today we're here in Bisbee, Arizona at the Queen Mine Tours. So we're gonna go on that little tram thing back there to the mine, and we're gonna take a look at what the miners used to do. Now I think back there they pulled out a few $1 million in gold, so we should go take a look, guys. But real quick, as you can see, they got some old mining equipment like an A-frame that lower miners down into the old mine. An elevator shaft, as you can see.
Is that an ore cart?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. Oh wait, that's the honey cart. Or a lunch cart maybe. That's the McDonald's of the mine. We'll have to find out.
And they have a well back there too.
Oh, well.
You can go pull up some water.
Hey look, there's tracks here in this elevator.
Yeah, the mine cart, you can roll up on the track and it go up or down.
That's pretty cool. You want to stand on up there? Let's see what it looks like.
See? It's not that tall because miners were about 5'6", 5'7" back in the day, so they weren't exactly tall. So as you can see, I almost touched the ceiling here.
You're one tall miner, Larry.
Sure am.
And what do you got up here? This is like the hoist?
Also got to watch out for Tommy knockers because sometimes those are basically ghosted miners.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
You be listening for Tommy knockers while in the mine, okay?
Yeah. Well, should we head on in?
Go show us the train car real quick.
All right, let's go take a look. Ooh, oh, howdy everyone. Larry from Larry Life, the Up for Gold here. Today we're at the Bisbee Queen Mine. Gonna go inside the mine and do mine things in the morning. We're just getting warmed up here by the fire because it's about 32 degrees outside. Really cold. Anyway, we got some geodes here.
What are geodes?
See, there's a little bit. You can see a little bit of that.
Oh, these are those rocks you cut open in half and they've got crystals inside, right?
Yeah.
You saw them in half? And you can buy an unopened geode right here. How cool is that?
They got a gift shop. We got our safety hats inside.
Oh, so when we go on the mine, we're gonna go inside on like a little mine car and wear some hats?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. This is the Copper Queen Mine. That's a real old-timey mine.
Yeah, let's go show you what we're gonna have to ride back there.
All right, perfect.
Let's go take a look. Oh, guys, here, as you can see, what we're gonna go on the mine on. I'm not exactly sure still about this idea. Larry Life Dad pulled me over here, so I don't know, but well, I guess we'll see.
We go riding down these. We're gonna sit on that and go 1,500 feet into the mine. That's gonna be pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
let's
I guess let's go into the mine.
Come on, let's go.
Copper Queen Mine.
Look at that, everybody.
Yeah, look at that.
I can't wait to go on the mine. Woohoo! It's gonna be some fun. Now take us down the mine entrance. Let's get inside.
Come on, let's go.
500 feet back into that now. Now, at no time whatsoever do we drop down any mine shafts or go into any raises. Nice little horizontal train ride. No Thunder Mountain, any Disneyland roller coaster ride at the end of this thing, guys. We won't be flying out of mine cars, no Indiana Jones stuff. First time we get out the train, guys, we'll be 700 feet back in there. We'll walk up 36.
Well, everyone, we got our hats on and our vests on and our lights on, ready to go in the mine.
Let's see your light, Larry Life.
There you go.
Oh, that's pretty bright. We're going 1,500 feet into the mine.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like your safety helmet.
Thanks. Well,
your safety vest. Very cool.
we head on in.
Let's go. Come on.
All right.
Let's go. There's the gift shop. We'll see that at the end of the mine tour if we survive. They got a cool little museum here. A nice little rock thing.
Hey guys, I wish I could wear my Prospector outfit.
This is your mine outfit.
So you're gonna sit on the train facing towards the line and you're gonna start out like a bicycle or a horse.
All right, great.
Safety rules here. While the train is in motion, please keep your feet on those running boards just like you're doing right now. And once inside that mine, fight human nature. Do not try to reach out and touch those walls, guys. Keep your hands in. Again, if you drop anything, don't worry about it. Michelle will pick it up. And one more thing, guys. On that front motor, a little brass bell. Every time before I move the train, I'll hit that brass bell a couple times. When you hear it ring, get yourself steady and know the train will be in motion right there. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
It's warmer in there than it is out here, so I guess it doesn't make any difference. Oh, this guy's lucky he's in a sunbeam right here.
It's like a cat soaking up the sun.
You ready, Larry Life?
Yep.
Going into the mine. Here we go. Hope we make it back out.
There you go.
Is everybody doing okay so far? Yep.
Oh yeah.
All right, yeah. This is also the narrowest and darkest part of the tour, guys. That's another reason we stopped right here. It gets a little lighter and lighter after this, brighter, that's for sure. Well, this mountain range, they first started mining copper here way back in 1877. But the tunnel we're sitting in right now was not driven back in this mountain until the year 1915. Because by 1915, the copper ore bodies were so far backing up in this mountain, they needed the main haulage level to bring the miners and equipment in and get that copper back out. That's what we're sitting in right now, kind of like an underground I-10 or Highway 80. With one exception, we're a lot safer down here than we are on I-10, I guarantee you right now. Now, don't look around for pretty copper, silver, gold just yet, guys. It's non-existent in this tunnel. This is just an avenue to get into this mountain. But before we get you out of here, twice we'll be able to check mineralization in place. Somebody was asking, one young man was asking about diamonds. Not today, guy. Not down here anyway. Geology is totally wrong, but we'll see a lot of other cool stuff, I promise you, right there. Everything is today, guys, is the original deal. These man cars are riding out are 1920 models. That front motor's in 1926, the back one's in 1945. Every piece of pipe, timber, support you see in this, and they're here, it's real. Of course, we change out and inspect it every morning, that's for sure. But we try to keep it as close as we can from about 1880 to 1915. One spot, we'll talk a little bit about 1975, but just briefly right there. Now, before we go any further, is everybody doing okay down here? You guys all look calm back here, no problem, okay? Car number 4, Blue. Everybody doing okay here?
Doing great.
And a lone soldier up front, you doing all right, sir? Yeah. Good deal. Folks, the next time I stop the train, please stay on. We have one more small access door to pass through before we get to our next stop. So in the meantime, just enjoy the train ride.
Yeah. What's that quartz? Something sparkly.
Everybody's pretty quiet back there.
aboard the Larry Life for Gold Express. Did you find any gold yet, Larry?
Not yet.
I have a copper.
I haven't seen any. Have you seen any copper?
We'll find some copper here.
Yeah.
Is everybody enjoying the train ride?
Oh, yeah.
Something you don't do every day after underground, especially, that's for sure. Folks, we're now 700 feet back in this mountain, and if you would step off on the left-hand side, we'll walk up those 3600 steps and check out the old mine out here.
All right, Larry. Let me know if you see gold or copper. Ooh, look at this. Looks like fun. Oh, I can feel some fresh air, Larry. Got a nice wind blowing here. What we got here? The old mine goes up really high.
What elevation is Chicago? What's the also sea level, is it? Does anybody know? What's that? Elevation Chicago is?
Oh man, I know I don't.
Because you're 300 feet right here, so we're pretty high, 1 mile high. When a lot of people get atmosphere kind of affects your lungs right here, so just if you do, just take it easy, whatever you need to do, guys. Any questions before we start? Folks, this area we're standing in mining language is called a stope, spelled S-T-O-P-E, like stop with an E on the end of it. Stope in mining terms means an area that is being mined or mined out, active or inactive. And folks, when they first had active mining where we're standing at right here, way back in 1880, this will be the oldest part of the material being right here. And in 1880, when those men were working in here, that tunnel where the train is didn't exist. That was about 35 years in the future right there. So having said that, folks, if everybody would come over here and stand on this side of the wooden deck over here. And I need you to look back up behind that wooden structure where I'm circling my lamp up in there. Folks, you see a tunnel up in there. That tunnel heads its way up to the surface about 400 feet above us. So we're just a little under 400 feet underground right now. Here again, we didn't drop down, but the mountain went up above us. Back in the late 1870s, prospectors out here in Bisbee, Arizona, looking for some of that pretty green copper mineralization. Found a little showing an outcropping of that ore on the surface. They started drilling and blasting, chasing a little thread of the ore down until they stopped right where we're standing at, guys. That little thread of the copper ore blossomed or bloomed out into a full-blown copper ore body. That's where we're standing in, when excavated out, folks. About 95% of this was man-made right here. It was definitely good enough to come in and mine copper, that's for sure. But after discovery, they did not use that tunnel anymore. They left it open for ventilation and for safety reasons. Once again, folks, turn right around and check out my ex-partner standing up there. So right down below him, folks, you see another tunnel with the lighting over there. What those early miners did then, after discovering this ore body, was drive that tunnel over there to outside the mountain in to hit this copper ore. That way, they had a good, nice, flat surface to bring the men and equipment in and take that copper back out. Without using that tunnel behind us, dragging everything clear up to the top of the mountain and dropping all back down again, made a lot of good common sense. Come in and out right over there. Now, guys, what were they looking for? Where's the guy, the young man right there? They were looking, talking about mineralization. Folks, wherever I'm circling my lamp, and you put your lamp through tab, too, now if you like to put it black, that pretty green rock right there. Yeah. That's one color of copper ore, folks, and that green rock would have filled this cavity at one time. That's just a little bit they left behind. Copper ore also comes in your real pretty blues, reds, golds, down to just your basic grays and blacks. But that green or copper is called malachite. Folks, 1880s, those miners working in here were using black powder and hand steel, blow that green ore up to about 10-inch size chunks, transport it back out that lower tunnel right there. 1880s, no steam power, no electricity, very few mules or horses. When they first started mining here, folks, those men were carrying that ore out by hand. Yeah, no kidding, baskets, buckets, sacks, their shirts, their hats, they pushing wheelbarrows, whatever else they had to get that copper ore to the outside. Folks, when they smelted that rock down, about 25% of that rock would be usable copper. That's unheard of in the state of Arizona today. The copper mines today in Arizona are mining less than 1% copper and doing very well at it. So Bisbee in the early days was a very, very high grade copper mine. But copper was not the only thing they were after down here. Let's take a little look right over here on my left hand side. We'll see kind of a brownish, reddish, yellowish patch of rock right here. When that pretty green copper ore was still intact, folks, this brown reddish rock would have been intermingled and mixed in with that green copper ore. It's a real low grade iron ore called hematite or goethite in there. Super low grade, it wasn't worth anything as an iron ore, guys. But that type of rock right there is where they found the gold values in these hills. Sure don't look like it, does it? No big nuggets, chunks, or flakes, nothing like that. But more often than not, it was just shot through with tiny microscopic flakes of gold. And folks, they say about the mining here in Bisbee that the gold and the silver paid for the cost of mining. The copper was 100% profit right there.
Wow.
Little history on Bisbee mining real quick here, folks. We still are standing in probably the original Copper Queen mine right here. The Copper Queen mine was one of 29 major mines that operated on and off in Bisbee, Arizona for roughly 97-year history of mining. In those 97 years, in this little 2-mile by 3-mile area in the Snow River Mountain Range down here in southern Arizona, they took out over 3 million ounces of gold. And folks, that's a lot of gold for any one point in this world. About 8 billion pounds of copper, and that's pretty good, but also 102 million ounces of silver. And that's far more silver than our sister city of Tombstone ever put out. Bisbee's not as famous as Tombstone. Why? Because we did not have the gunfight to Cape Railroad, folks. Tombstone will always be more famous than Bisbee, but we sure out producing silver right there. Take your lamps and look around you, folks. You see a lot of gray rock everywhere. Someplace nice, those sparklies looking back at you. We'll talk about those sparklies a little later on the tour. But all the gray rock, guys, is calcium carbonate or plain old-fashioned limestone. Very safe, very secure in this part of the mine. But when you come underground, folks, what's one of the first hazards you think might happen to you?
Yeah.
Cave-ins? Yeah, rocks caving in right there. In order for those men to protect themselves from cave-in, those miners, they'd have built a wooden structure like this one standing right here. This is called a square set. And the secret to square sets, right there on the circle of my lamps, are those little step down cuts right there and right there. If this was a complete set, there'd be 2 on the back, 4 on the bottom. And to better understand how these square sets work, I got a handy dandy little diagram here we can check out. Somebody could please keep a light on that for me, okay? Thank you. Now, we're gonna really stretch our imaginations right now and pretend my hand is a copper ore body underground. Folks, anytime you mine anything underground, you wanna try to mine from the bottom up. That way gravity's your friend instead of your enemy. Those men would drill and blast, excavating the copper ore out of the bottom, all the while interlocking side by side with those step down cuts, installing these square sets, put the lagging on top to keep that ground from crushing them, caving down in on them right there. Once they mine out the bottom, folks, that establish the second level up here by putting these square set posts directly on top of the ones below. Here again, vertically, another one coming in from the side. But here's the key to the square sets, folks. Once they were established up here mining, they'd bring in waste rock from other parts of the mountain inside and totally fill in the bottom section, timber and all. Never leaving a big, open, unsupported area for those men to work in at one time. And then stair-step mining, just like that, and backfilling it as they go right there. And the cool part about this diagram, folks, is you can turn it right upside down. Still works exactly the same way right there. Now, thank you for the light. Does not seem too high-tech here in 2020, folks, that's for sure. But that little step-down cut in these square sets were invented in 1859 in Virginia City, Nevada, in a Comstock lode, those fabulous silver mines up there. And ever since Mr. D. Dessenheimer invented that, it's been saving thousands of men's lives worldwide. Now this is an 8x8 timber. This is an 8x8 square set right here. They make them out of 10x10s and 12x12s and even larger than that. You can take exactly the same size, width, and length of timber, 2 pieces identical, and they can weigh as much as 300 pounds of difference from each other by the amount of moisture or pitch content in these timbers right there. Now guys, when those men were working out here in 1880, the railroads hadn't gotten to Bisbee yet. Everything was being brought in on mule train, horse-drawn wagons and carts, stuff like that. Very primitive conditions out here. Those miners at that time were living along the bottom of Tombstone Canyon down there in their tents, their lean-tos, their shacks, whatever they could afford to build. They get up in the morning, eat their breakfast, walk up to the side of this mountain, walk into this particular stope, that area right there, and to drill and blast to get that green ore out of here. Let me show you some of those early tools those miners would use. Let me step right over here. 1880s, that miner's first drill steel was nothing more than a 12-inch steel chisel with a little bit better tip on it called a starter steel or a bull steel. He'd place that on the face of that limestone or the copper ore, whatever he's blasting out at that point in time. Then to drive his drill steel back in there, he picks up a 4-pound hammer called a single jack. He takes that steel in one hand, the hammer in the other, start driving it back in there, making a good round hole for that powder charge. In between each hit with that hammer, he would always rotate that steel about a quarter of a turn each time. That made a good round hole, that's for sure. But the real reason is turning that steel is to keep that steel from getting stuck on the back in that hole. And folks, anywhere in this mine, you can always tell the date of a drill hole. More modern ones with pneumatic air powered tools, almost a perfect radius, round circle right there. The old hand drills were kind of egg-shaped or oblong like that. He'd drive that back in there about 10 or 11 inches where he could still pull it out. Then he'd pick up more lengths of steel, each one a little longer than the last, till he reached that 3-foot mark. In the early days of hand drilling and blasting, folks, about 2 or 3 holes, 3 feet deep was all they would do right there. But now when it got to longer lengths of drill steel, it was no longer a one-man job to drill this hole. It became a 2-man operation. One man would stand here and hold that steel and rotate it for his partner. His partner now is going to grab the big boy, anywhere from 8 to 16 pound double jack. Stand back here, drive that into that rock, guys. You think there may have been a few trust issues involved between these two guys? Especially when it came to your fingers? Yeah, you bet there was. But I read they did a very good safety practice that kept both these guys really honest. Here it is. Let's say me and my partner come down to the first day to drill some holes for blasting. It's my job to hold that steel and turn it while he's hitting it with that hammer. The next day we come into work, we trade positions. He's holding that steel and I'm swinging that hammer. We both have really good, clear memories about what happened yesterday. Folks. Made honest man of both of us real darn quick down. That's for sure. Folks, up to about 1920, not only Bisbee, but anywhere in the world with underground mining folks, those men were issued canvas to work by. It kind of gives an idea what those men were up against. Take your lamps and hold them up against yourself for a few. That's about it right there. Now, any volunteers among you to hold that steel for me? No. I can hear the crickets in the background right now, guys. I don't blame you. Thank you anyway, young man. Unpop your lamps back. It's way too dangerous. Right there, for sure. No, you can't. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's a brave young man right there. Okay. Folks, yeah, we're not going to really do it. Up to 1910, men working down here were working 10-hour days, 6 days a week. They got every Sunday off, and for their pay, they're getting a whopping 35 cents an hour. Guys, that's nothing nowadays, but 1910, that wasn't bad money. 1910, you walk up Main Street Bisbee, any Main Street USA, go into the bakery, get your big old fresh baked loaf of bread, maybe a penny or two. Walk in any bar or restaurant in town, sit down, get you a good steak dinner, a couple of baked potatoes, pitch of beer on the side, 10, 12 cents right there.
Oh, man.
So for that 10-hour day, that $3.50 a day that man was making was a lot better wages you can find working on the surface, that's for sure.
What was the average lifespan?
I really couldn't tell you, sir. I spent over 34 years in copper mines and smelters in the southwest United States right here, and I'm 61 years old, so I'm still kicking. They had some problems with lung disease, 1920s and 1930s, but they alleviated that pretty quick right there. So I would say average lifespan of anybody else right there. Any kind of heavy industry like mining is, though, you have your hazards. You sure will. Cave-ins,